Hello, beautiful people. My name is K.ZIA, and this is my beautiful mother,
Mary.
And today is the very first episode of our new podcast, TeaPod.
TeaPod.
There's no T in our teas.
Okay, sorry, but the TeaPod is there, and now the tea, we feel it. Here we go. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Conversations where we don't always agree,
but we always go there.
We always go there. Today's tea is green tea.
Green tea.
Ooh, bitter. Damn.
I love it.
Today's tea is, at what point does manifestation become delusion?
Okay, first of all, let me explain what is a manifestation. We want to talk about the spirituality of manifestation, the aspect of neuroscience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The explanation of manifestation is a spiritual aspect, turning a thought, desire, a goal into a physical reality.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
Then we have a thought that we emit, and we emit a specific frequencies, energy, that we talk to a field of other frequency, other energy, and the universe aligns to deliver into a physical manifestation, to a reality.
I feel like manifestation is everywhere these days. On social media, in yoga classes, everybody talks about manifestation. But my question is, at what point does manifestation become delusion? Because I feel like there's a fine line between both. And so my first question to you is, do you feel like you can do anything? Do you actually feel like you can have anything that you want?
I manifest who I am. Mm-hmm. Because for me, manifestation is just the expression of who you really are. And because of our education at school and the society where we live in, we have plenty of other thoughts that come and become like a huge cloud of other thoughts that make the doubt or the comparison with others that makes you leave or lose your own being. If you free yourself of all those thoughts and bad thoughts or frequency that doesn't go and doesn't align with yourself, you're losing the path to attain your goal and your reality. Start first in the primary school, parents, friends, society where we live, and at age 18, I rediscovered myself when I decided to get out of the environment where I was living. I went back to where I'm born in Congo, to be out of all the people that raised me and be absolutely connected with nature.
Yeah, you're disconnected.
Disconnected completely.
From everything you knew.
And then say, who am I? That's the first thing. It's kind of meditation, because meditation is like being just at the moment present.
And so where do you draw the line between, you tapping into who you are / want to become, and you being in denial or not facing the reality that you're in? Because I also believe that you can have anything you want to a certain extent within reason, but I don't think that lying to yourself is the way to get there. Because there's a fine line with people that are like, that bring a reality that isn't there in their mind and call that manifestation versus programming yourself. Those are two different things. If I have to disconnect from reality to believe in something, to me, that's denial. Do you know what I mean?
Denial? Why? Give an example.
Because if we live in a reality, right? And if I have to take it.
Sorry, a reality. Give you an example of what is a reality.
the environment that we're in.
Okay.
There are different kinds of realities, depending on what frequency we're looking at, but we still have this one that is a reality. You and me here physically right now is a reality, amongst many others maybe, but it still is a reality. And in order to know what I need to change in this reality or what I want, where I want to go, I have to acknowledge this reality. And so I feel like sometimes people are in denial with their environment and mask that as manifestation. For instance, I don't have money on my bank account. That's the reality I'm in. But I'm going to be living like I do. I'm going to be spending money and say, I trust the universe, or I'm manifesting that money is going to come. The reality is that right now, there is no money in your bank account. And this is what I mean by when is it denial and when is it that you're pretending that your reality is not there and masking that as manifestation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's when suddenly you will have money coming from, you don't know where, the universe will guide you to attain it. As soon as you stay in that belief, you will reach it. Now I'm talking about objects, but most of the time I'm talking about being on your own power and free of all those noises. As soon as we have it, you say that I want to be free and have money is coming to me. You attain that goal and then you buy a car, the car you want. It's not, I'm thinking of having that car. I'm first thinking of being free of all the aspect of I don't have money, the thought that
stops you from
attaining. It's like, as soon as you still have, I don't have money, I want to have that car, you're still in the process of going there, that you are not there yet. As soon as it's there, and I did it. First Congolese arriving in Belgium, is like there is no place for us. And I remember exactly the day when I switched off and said, I am that, and everything aligned so easily that it was even uncomfortable.
So it's more of like letting yourself believe that things are possible versus in my meditation, I'm manifesting it. And so it's going to appear in my reality.
It doesn't have to be a future. It has to be already in it. As soon as you don't have that thoughts coming, I want to have that. Or I still don't have money in my account, that it's a reality that really tracked you down from your direction.
Yeah, but then this is still, again, if I don't have money in my bank account, I'm not going to go shop in the now and not be able to pay rent at the end of the month. That's not manifestation. To me, that's just taking bad decisions.
That is a bad decision.
And again, it's denying your actual reality, which is you don't have the means to. So you can't, in my reality, you can't go around saying, I'm manifesting that I have this money, I'm going to pay it, and whatever happens, because then you're just not really taking the right decisions for yourself. Or like you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah, my experience, I took the risk. I said, when I moved to New York with you, people said, why are you alone? And then you go with your child and the father is over there. And then how are you going to pay? Everything is super expensive. All those thoughts was there. And I just trust, because I am a deeper believer in spirituality. Mm-hmm. And every morning it comes to me, I felt really a source of energy. There is no way I'm not going to go there. But
this to me is a little something else, because this is in the future. I'm really speaking of a situation, like a present situation.
But you know, I was in New York already when this energy comes to me saying like, I'm there, I live there, I project there. And the rest has to just be organization. I'm going to find, and you're looking the apartment, that's the one. Everything is go without thinking too much. For me, it was like this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had an education where you don't go to buy super big jewelry and make expenses that lose yourself.
Yeah. No, because in general, I believe in manifestation, but I feel like my definition of it is a little different to yours in the sense where I feel like manifestation is programming of my own brain and my own consciousness and myself, where, like, for instance, with a partner, if I'm manifesting a partner, if I imagine this person in my head, if I know what they look like, if I know what they feel like, if I know their traits, I'm going to be able to recognize them better in the current reality. And so it's programming myself to know this is what I want for myself so that when I'm active in everyday life, I know where to go. This is how I envision manifestation versus me not having money and then and saying, no, I have money, or me, anything. Like it happened with COVID, for instance. I remember when I had COVID, you were telling me, you don't have COVID, it's in your head. I felt like I was dying. I couldn't breathe. And you were like, you don't have COVID. To me, that's denial. I'm out here, I can't breathe. You're saying it's in my head. This is where I don't align. I'm like, no, I'm sick, Yeah.
Let me answer you about a manifestation of a man. Maybe you've been, you construct an ideal man based on society and movie. You watch all your education and then you project because you relate it to something that has been the society put in your mind. And that's not the real you. That's where we have to know where are we free of those idea of an ideal partner.
To me, that's a different subject. Whether I manifest the right thing for me or not the right thing, that's something different. Okay. So I was just comparing to the way that I see manifestation is more programming of my brain, where I'm like, when I meditate, when I pray, when I'm, spending time with myself in nature and I'm manifesting things for me, I see it as I'm programming myself to know where I want to go, recognize where I want to go, recognize my people. This is what my definition of manifestation is, programming myself. Whereas this thing where it's like, don't say that you don't have money if you don't have money, or don't say that you're sick. Don't say that you're sick when you are sick. I am sick and it's okay. And my mindset can switch in the sense where I'm going to get better, but saying I'm not sick, I am sick. And that's where I'm like, that's denial. You're basically lying to yourself.
I will not say lying. For example, I have a super good health because I say to myself every time I have the power to understand the sign that my body can talk to me and saying, take more of this or take more of that or rest a little bit. And because I am connected with my body and I listen what my body said, I able to direct my thought as a manifestation. I said, I'm not going to be sick now.
Okay, but you're talk about the example I gave you. Because this is, to me, c'est pas tangible. I'm talking about the moment where I was sick, I had COVID. I think you actually even gave it to me, which is crazy. And I think so. C'était pas, je pense. Hein?
I don't know.
So, de manière plus tangible, I had COVID, and you were saying, don't say that you have COVID. It's in your head. This is an invented thing. Meanwhile, I'm out here taking my sweater off, feeling like I'm about to die, and you out here telling me I'm not sick.
Okay. The thing is, if the sickness came to you because you believed in COVID.
No, the sickness came to me because you had it.
Okay.
And you gave it to me.
And I was resisting it.
You were sick as well.
Yeah, but I was not dying.
I have asthma.
Okay. Let's continue what I want to say. Look at her, how her eyes is like, I'm gonna get you, Mom.
I'm just trying to say that I almost, I know. Go ahead.
Yeah. maybe my body is stronger, or it's maybe my thoughts. I believe if you said it's not gonna attain me, I'm talking to the disease itself, saying you're not gonna invade me. That's what I try to put it in your head. Coming from your mom, maybe the effect will be double if I said you are not sick. That say I'm not sick, and then if you put that and believe in it, it will heal, because maybe the antibody will take over and follow on what you believe in. I feel it, and it is coming. Your intuition guides you. Take a little bit of garlic, take this, take that, and then you go with the help of nature in perfect harmony with nature. This is the way I work.
Great, but so what about just manifesting that you will get better versus denying that you're actually sick?
Yeah, no, you accept it, that something happened to you.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if you're saying you're not sick, you're denying the reality. You can manifest that I bet is gonna leave me, and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Programming my own brain, I'm with you. But then the part where you're denying the actual reality is where I'm not with you.
Okay, that I will say that something started to me, but not gonna get me fully. Or if it has to be fully, I let it. The body have to go through this, and I will wait. That may be my body telling me, or the universe telling me, stop for a moment, rest.
Have you ever
take it?
Have you ever lied to yourself in the name of belief or manifestation? Or
I remember, yes, lying. I start smoking to look like I'm older and can be with other guys and looks cool. That was lying to myself, because I hate it. But very quick, I stopped. But it's helped, because when you grew up in a country where there is not a lot of people look like you, I was always the special one. That I take this special one as a gift, because hopefully I was educated, surrounded by super smart human adults who helped me to believe in that. That it's a big help.
It took me longer to get to that point. I think it's only when I was like 21 that
and
I
I'm
started.
wondering how, because being educated by person like me who already lived that, maybe school was more powerful, or maybe
I think that I have more of a need to feel loved by my surrounding than you maybe, and so I felt the need to be loved by the people around me, and I didn't feel like it was the case. Family, yes, but the outside world, not so much. It was like I was scaring or too this or too that, not enough. And so I think that this is why I knew I wasn't being myself. That I knew, but I was doing it on purpose. I didn't care. I was like, you know what? Let me try to be this person to try to be loved. That's not working. Let me try to be that person to be loved. That's not working. And then at some point I was like, okay, none of this is working. So let me try to be the one that loves myself. And then we go from there. And then beautifully, that's when then the outside started to love me, is when I started to love me as well. But I think that maybe that was a thing where I felt I really needed this love and this.
Maybe that's the challenge you put into yourself, to just feel alive.
Maybe.
Because as soon as you arrive, even when you were in my belly, I felt you, and we already started a conversation saying, I am coming. My name is K.ZIA. And even choosing the father. Everything was aligned in my conversation with you. And as soon as you arrive, we still have that free connection up to a certain point where I remember the switch where you went to the society. That's the world of artists. This is one world. Let me discover what is the rest of the world, to find what society offer. And it was good for you to experiment. That's life.
I think the thing is also, I don't think that I felt this need so much when I was younger, because I was with a lot of adults, because I was on tour with you. I was, and so I felt accepted by adults. I've always felt accepted and recognized by adults and loved by adults, not so much by my peers, because I was the weirdo, because I was never there, because I spoke about things that adults spoke, because I was so often with adults. And so I think maybe this is the thing where I didn't have all these siblings. You grew up with siblings, you grew up with your sister that's almost your age. And so maybe you had more of this recognition of peers, although you're all different. I don't know. It's
Let me return a question to you. Do you think that it's a trend of the moment? Because we talk about manifestation. Maybe your algorithm make you think that everybody's talking about that, but maybe a part of society doesn't think this way.
I definitely feel like it's a trend, and that's why I think that this subject is interesting, because I feel like some people don't actually understand different people can have different versions or definitions of it. We don't have the exact same definition of it. But I also think that it's a trend where people are kind of, denying their reality and sugarcoating their reality with spiritual quotes and calling that manifestation. But, if you're just lying to yourself about, yes, please. If you're just lying to yourself about a certain reality, that to me is not manifestation, it's just denial. I did it myself when, dating. I was convincing myself that something was a specific reality that wasn't. But I think that can be...
It's important to mention that, because, again, it's like TV, society, entertainment show a way of being happy, a way of, it's like we project ourselves in a family that doesn't represent us, and we want to attain that. I can see that around me a lot. We have to look like that, we have to follow the rules, because to fit the society, then how the people gonna look at us will be the reality, and that it's the mistake.
A lot of people do things for the outside view.
Open view. Yes.
There's also a lot more distraction today and a lot more influence from the outside world. Back in the day, you could only see whatever you had in your household and in, where you worked, your school. And some people had the privilege of being able to travel and saw a little further, but it was very, a lot more restrained, limited. Whereas now, especially with social media, we are bombarded with information and things where we can compare ourselves, and we feel the need to be able to do the same thing. Oh, I need to have this type of lifestyle, or go to this trip, or go out with somebody that looks like that, and then do this type of content. And it's very performative.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking out loud, if you think of Bridgerton, it was also very performative back in the day, where it was this thing where you had to appear a certain way and speak a certain way and find, somebody...
From that kind of cast of society, because we never talk about the real stories of commoners. I want to talk about my mom, your grandma, as a Congolese born in a little village, how she manifests her reality, having no example, no social media, nothing.
A powerful force.
Only access was the colonialism. She mentioned to me, there is a British woman who really loved her and took her and showed her how Western society works, especially the British one. This is maybe the connection with UK. And anyway, and she explained to me, she made everything to seduce her tutor, to be able to access to privilege that not Congolese people has access, because the colonialism says that's for only European and that's for only Congolese. You have no access. We don't have the same role. We all know the colonialism story was horrible and saying this is the way they were forced to serve white people. But something in her saying, I will seduce this is her reality. Okay, I will seduce the white people to access my own power. Her role and her goal was to become powerful, because in between the sisters, African challenge sisterhood and say, I'm the powerful one, I'm the powerful. That was between them. and I'm going to attain those white privilege because I'm powerful. That her belief on her power, strength, make everything.
Yeah. This is brain programming, or like, again, like this is what I mean by self-programming. It's like you program yourself.
But you not program, she let herself be. When she was racist?
Mamie, elle faisait des courses.
Oui.
Au Congo?
Oui.
Oh wow, I never knew this.
Ouais.
Oh wow.
Elle disait tout le temps, j'étais la championne.
Really?
Yeah. She was racing.
Runner.
And then she was the winner. And
so you got it from her, actually.
Maybe.
Because you were also a runner.
That's what she said, because I was a good runner when I was a child.
This is why there's this story where one day il y avait Marraine, Ismaël et Mamie à la maison. And Ismaël said something.
It's a cousin, Ismaël?
Yes, Ismaël is my little cousin. And he said something to Mamie. And it was like provocative, but then he said it and then he like went out of the house. And this is my godmother, so Marraine is the one that told me this story. She said, the way I saw Mamie stand up, take her shoes off and start to sprint, you could see in the face of Ismael, he turned around and thought that she was going to be far, but he turned around and she was right there and she grabbed him. This is why she used to run.
Yes.
Ka, 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 ka. Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know.
Since she was little, a powerful strength, full of strength, she was a winner. Something that she was not program herself. She let herself be. That's different, because if you program, you have the influence of others. You compare to others.
But it depends, because you can program yourself to unprogram yourself.
You organize yourself.
You can program yourself to let go of certain things.
True.
When I say programming, it's also like it's organized. It's organized. It's like, okay, this is what we're. It's like planning things and recalibrating things for yourself. And then if you do it well, it's by tapping into your essence and knowing what's good for you. And that's what alignment is. And that's why you need to be, in my opinion, isolated better to be able to do that. That's why I also love spending so much time by myself, is because that's when I feel like I'm less influenced by the outside and I can hear my essence more. I would like to end this on a little fun note.
Okay.
And do a little game, a little manifestation game.
That's
no, not a manifestation. Yes, I do love to play. Basically, I'm going to tell you sentences, and I would like for you to not think too much and say whether you think it's madness or manifestation. I'm broke, but I just booked a trip because abundance mindset.
Manifestation.
Okay.
Can I add some little things?
Absolutely.
Because even if it's not a manifestation, you book and you arrive to a space that everything falls, the challenge you have to go through is part of the manifestation. That is what I wanted to say earlier. That even
it's part of the manifestation or part of the things you have to do to learn?
To reach your goal. You have to go through some challenges. And it's hard because sometimes like time goes a year, a second year, a third year, and I was like, really? And maybe my body saying, the universe tried to tell me, or God, I don't know how you want to call, telling me, move, make action.
Now, what if the lesson that you have to learn is that next time you shouldn't book a plane when you're broke?
That's it.
Well, then
you learn,
then you know. Then it's madness.
No, it's a manifestation.
Okay, well, okay, fair enough. He said he's not ready. Fair enough. He said he's not ready for a relationship, but I feel like I'm different. Manifestation or madness?
If you feel deeply, or it depends if it's lying to yourself that it's
manifestation or madness.
I would say always manifestation, because if you do mistake, you learn from there to attain your goal after.
Okay.
Or you do mistake nonstop, and you stay in a vicious circle.
I never check my bank account because I trust the universe.
I'm like that. Then
Madness or manifestation?
Manifestation. Everything is manifestation for me anyway.
I have no plan, but I feel
Manifestation.
aligned. You telling me I have
Manifestation.
You telling me I have
Manifestation.
You telling me I have COVID. No, you telling me COVID is in my head.
Yeah.
Manifestation or madness?
For
you
me
telling
or for you?
me that COVID is in my head when I'm about to die. Manifestation or madness?
Everything is manifestation.
All right.
Because we create everything. We create our own reality. And if you want to trust me or not, it's maybe the challenge there the universe put out to you. Do you have to still listen to your mom or listen to yourself? I am sick and I want to stay sick. Leave me alone.
Well, that's not exactly what I said, but fine.
You want to say it because you respected me. You say it slower.
Say what slower?
That shit, I'm sick and leave me alone.
It's not leave me alone. It's take care of me and help me get better, and I will get better. But don't tell me I don't have it when I'm,
Okay, one funny thing. When we were sick, because you say that, but the way mommy, your grandma, your Coco, as we said in Congolese world, when we start to be sick and we start, je me sens, you are not sick. And she doesn't want us to go to a state of being, of
victimization.
Vulnerability, and let yourself go in completely into it. The way she taught us is like, use your own power to not let yourself go. It's like the opposite of Western world. When somebody is sick, I'm going to mix you some tea and give you a lot of love. And I was like in these two worlds, which one I want to, when I have to educate you, and say which one I'm going to use. And I make a mix of both. Because maybe that thought from colonialism and and then we are not in that process anymore. That I was like, I'm not going to give you candy and sweet and honey, but I will help you to go through. It's not easy, and give you all the essence, saying that's going to help you, really give you tools to help you to get better.
I mean, everything is about balance, always. I think that extremes are never a good thing. And again, if you're like, no, you don't have it, again, to me, that's denial. Yes, I do. I'm going to get better. Let's not dwell on it. Let's not, but I'm acknowledging that I have this. Maybe I need one day to take a break where I can chill and eat well and resource my energy. So I acknowledge it and then we move. But then also not going to the extreme where it's, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Everything has to stop. Everything's about balance always at the end of the day.
There is always a way. And if you allow yourself to just trust it, and that is the more difficult, because if psychologically you were educated in or an environment where you have to be super square on the education, you have to follow the rules and everything, that is most of the time the hardest. I will say, as a mother, as a singer, as an artist, as a human being, nature. Go to have a walk in nature. The connection with nature, it's always something that brings you to your first childhood.
You disconnect to connect.
Yeah.
Thank you for this conversation.
Yes. Thank you too for the conversation. And I hope you have a tea as well when you will listen to us. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next episode.